Welcome back to another Pigeon Poop video. We are back with the Indian monarchy. So, a little update on where we are. The economy is doing fantastic, although at the moment we are in the negative. That's okay. We're doing some focuses relating to getting more research by the looks of it. And then after that is completed, we shall do our military reforms whilst expanding and consuming other territories, namely Pakistan, which is developing a fairly strong military at the moment, Bangladesh, possibly Myanmar, and elsewhere. But the main enemy being China. And as you can tell, our manufacturing base is increasing. Our military production will soon follow, and then that will follow by predominantly land-based invasion. But there are a lot of impassable territories that we'll have to resort to dealing with. So, let's get back into it. Why do we... Oh, okay, it's education spending. So, I did say that as soon as the nationalist government, or as soon as the monarchy was in, we were going to stabilize the nation by providing better services. We are in the positives there, which is great. So that's exactly what we'll do. We'll provide better services, we will invest in education, we will rapidly... Holy shit, I forgot how many factories I was planning on producing, but that's good. We want as many as possible. Well, we cannot do that, that's fine. Can we invest in biofuels? Yes, we can. Let's do foreign automobiles first. Then create our own automobile industry, because that'll give us more civvies. And then we can do synthetic refinery, although I don't believe we need it because we have plenty of petroleum, which will be fairly well guarded somewhere in the south here. I cannot remember what sort of air force we have. I don't imagine it is anything terribly crash hot. China competes the Yalong Tangpo diversion project. China's efforts to reduce its water scarcity. Now this is a big issue IRL. China has been intentionally cutting off water supplies in certain regions and then diverting it to the east, because there's a huge issue with China's water supply from the north compared to the south. I believe it's the north that's quite barren and the south is quite fertile. They created a massive project that they could pump water north to the northern part of China, and apparently the project hasn't turned out too well, and it's actually created further droughts on the Yellow River or the Yangtze River. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, no good. Let's smash out as many civilian factories as possible, because we have the manpower for it to create a massive industrial base. So let's do it. Let's do it indeed. We cannot have a decentralized administration. We need to start increasing centralization so we can be more efficient, gain more political power, and therefore influence the world stage. Excellent. How much is that going to add? 84 billion to 134 billion. That is a massive jump. We will have to increase taxes on people as we do this, because that is a massive jump. Look at that, 80 billion as a deficit. Okay, but we will gradually increase. That has increased our political power gain, which is good. That's what we want. So we could add another 50 billion deficit in welfare spending. We could add more health subsidies. So I definitely think we need at least basic health services. Free primary education. We're just going to keep raking in this debt. Increased consumer confidence. Now that's dropped it just a little bit, not too much. So now that we are gaining stability and improving the country, we shall reduce corruption, make other really good adjustments. What sort of cost is defense? Defense is only 2.6 billion. That's not even that crazy of a deal. So welfare is 135 billion, health is 40 billion, education is 23 billion, internal security is 17 billion. So overall, we are definitely creating more debt. The population tax will have to go to 30. Corporate tax may decrease when they start to complain, which there's every possibility they will. We want to build synthetic refineries, but reassure the farmers so everybody's happy, because we will need synthetic refineries. Squad level support or self-sufficient organization. Let's just do squad specialization for now. Invest in biofuels. Now, what can we do here? What's our research speed looking like? Plus 31. It's not great. So perhaps our production efficiency cap, we could go a little higher. So I guess that might be a win-win scenario in this case. It is 2006 already, so we are going to have to speed up. Ah, I didn't even notice that the construction side of things were lacking there. Bad idea. I never accept this. Company lists itself on the stock market, buy some of the shares. Sure, sounds good. Okay, we are going to need to start increasing taxation as soon as we can, because this, even though this is a large figure, this isn't going to last for very long. So we need to compensate that as soon as possible. I do believe the corruption is going to play a heavy role in that. So we will actually, hopefully, if we can, construction speed, that'll be increased tax revenue. Bureaucracy cost multiplier. This actually might be more beneficial for the next one. So we will start to centralize the government. We can do some emergency taxation if need be. What am I doing? Let's focus on these construction ones first. Upgrade our equipment. Pakistan has 5 cities. Let's get centralization. You see how that is rapidly dropping. So that is a problem that we need to resolve immediately. If we increase taxation, we have such a large population. The only thing is that by increasing taxation, that will decrease the stability. But I'm hoping, hoping we can counteract that. Well, that's already dropped one. So we need 53 to counteract that. It was probably a better idea to increase taxation first before creating all those increases there. But it does hugely benefit the economy or the stability of the regime. If we have an economic boom, we've got 10% of the tax revenue. So I've got 20 weeks left. 20 weeks left before we start facing some serious issues. Okay, after centralization happens, we may have to we should definitely do this. Build primary schools, access to education, and then expand the universities. That should have been something that's very beneficial too. Air doctrine, we probably want battlefield support and possibly operational integrity. We want to focus more on ground support, and we're hoping that the enemy is already having battlefield support from artillery. We dedicate our air force primarily to preventing enemy air superiority, which is what we want. As we increase our civilian factories, we should get much higher increase in our treasury. So we are lagging a bit there. Business owners request a tax cut. We're going to have to say the budget can't take it right now. Increase population tax. And I understand that the stability is at 0% right now, but that is okay, because it's not going to be that way forever. So the regions that all the factories are being built in could actually do with infrastructure developments. So maybe it is worthwhile doing the infrastructure developments, because then they will produce quicker results when building the civilian factories. We will need high-speed rail. How are we doing for production efficiency cap? We can definitely go higher. We want as high of a production as possible. The farmers request financial assistance. Subsidize farmers, which takes an additional expense of 10% of our GDP, or 0.1%, sorry. Issue a lump sum. Or get with your times, old man. I think we should issue a lump sum. That's going to reduce our income. Well, it reduce our reserves at least quicker, but at least in this regard, we should be able to maintain a good approach with the farmers. Which may spend more, which may increase the likelihood of us having an economic boom. I don't know. I'm assuming there's some sort of metric where they measure that sort of stuff. Okay, the infrastructure or network infrastructure is just about done. So we definitely will produce those factories much quicker, or at least that is the hope. If under the event that we run a massive deficit, we will simply have to declare war and consume territory before that becomes a problem. So we do want to expand our laboratory. And we can continue to expand our education institutions. So in doing so, we're reducing our education cost, which hopefully will just continue to bring down that balance. Because we are getting very, very close now to running out of funds. But not to worry, this is why I build up such a massive reserve of funds, such a massive budget to work with. So then in the event, okay, I cannot reach them. And I already have a war goal on them, I believe. Yeah, so who cares? I don't think they have much for me to take anyway. Yeah, not much at all. They've become more of a liability, if anything. Jeez. There we go. To our last. Now we are in the negatives. We are accumulating debt now. And hopefully it's not going to be at too fast of a rate. I do think we can lay off on the borrowing of civilian factories now. Because we have enough to continue. The education cost at the moment is running at 23 billion. So hopefully we can reduce that far enough and we don't have to the point that hopefully we can reduce it so that we don't actually have to cut these services anymore. The idea is we want to maintain these services. The Indian divisions are at least half decent. And I'm sure possibly against the Chinese divisions, they will be possibly superior in some regard. That's the idea though. That's the hope. I think we'll increase taxation until we get to about, let's say, 35, possibly 40%, possibly 37%. We'll see how we go. And then hopefully by that point we will have enough civilian factories to catch up on this deficit. Okay, got our next research slot. So I do believe we should now probably a good idea to start increasing our research in military equipment. I think that will be beneficial in the long run. Now, it is possibly a good idea to start producing office sectors will produce 4 in each of these regions to help increase our corporate income. May even be beneficial to prioritize some of these. 27th of August, May, June, July, August. So they're roughly pumping out 1 office sector per 4 months. As soon as this one is done, I'll move the West Gujarat one up above. See, that's going to be a problem. That's not good. Enough nonsense. The Indian economy is always healthy. Let's just delay that. 25.2%, it's not too bad. I think Russia is at 15% historically, or like IRL. Japan is like at 200%. So as long as we're not as bad as Japan, that's probably something, right? And continue on military research. We will have a blue water navy because we are large enough for it. Excellent. Increased taxation. Now that's just about done. Increase synthetic refinery. Drop that down. Now we are producing 2 offices at the same time. So can't do that. We do another strategic fuel reserve. That sounds like a good idea. We're at 30% now. So we will continue at about half the rate we were a year ago. So theoretically, in the following year, that should be down by, say, July 2028. Sorry, 2008. Gosh, I'm retarded. Yeah, so that we should be completely at 0 by 2008. I'm hoping we have enough time for that. Increase drones. It's a shame that we lost some political power for some reason. Bad idea. We're at 36.2%. This is gradually increasing. Our office sectors are getting closer and closer. Okay, we are catching up to China with their civilian industry production, although we are going to be lagging quite a lot in the manufacture of the Air Force air equipment. So at some point in the future we will need to start upgrading our Air Force, so then we can have effective aerial defense against China. And as I was thinking ahead, we do need a nice naval presence around the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. I do think India will start off primarily as a regional defense when it comes to the Navy. We will hang by as to not overextend our fuel reserves. Now, I believe If we go... debt consolidation. I'm hoping this will assist. Okay. We want multi-role fighters are the workhorse of any air force. They can cover any role or mission, but as such, their design are the result of a series of compromises that make it worse at each of their roles. Dedicated strike fighters are built for the ground attack role, excelling at both air interdiction and close air support while retaining decent air-to-air capabilities. Now, if we go air superiority fighters, that is what we are going to want. Because we want to have superior air-to-air combat. Okay, what are we doing? So every time I'm increasing the population tax, we are removing 5. So hopefully when we get to 40%, we will at least get down to -25, and that should be much more manageable at a -2 interest rate. Okay, once we get the civilian factories built and the offices built, we will start proceeding on to our military research. And this will all be leading up to potential war at some point, maybe in 2010 to 2012. An emerging outlook party is getting lots of influence. But at least it is something that we can possibly create a coalition on. I don't know if we can create a coalition with different political thoughts, though, but yeah, that'll be interesting. Very nice. Have another sip of my coffee. I do think because of the failed civil war, I was hoping for a much smoother transition. And instead I was left with a civil war that was pretty much scattered the military a little bit, to the point where I needed to defend against 2 fronts, and it wasn't until a little later, too late even, possibly, of the battle where I'd realised that the Indian troops, you can literally just bulk produce them, at least in the Mountain Division or Mountain Brigade. And then, if you're in a civil war, you can deploy them straight away. I don't know if that's a thing that you can do like in most places, in most civs, but at least that's something I didn't realize until now. So I'm gonna want to attack helicopters as well. Ideally, if I could get the Hindustan Aeronautics Company going, that would be excellent. So I need 180 for that, but the main priority is to increase our population tax rate. Corporate tax is gradually increasing at a slow and steady rate, but it is taking its sweet ass time. Now let's see what happens when the office sector increases. How much of that corporate income is going to increase? So we're at 29 billion at the moment. Is it just one? Does it just take me to 30 billion? 31 billion? Or is it maybe 29 and a half? Do I have to reset that? There was no change whatsoever. Okay. Wow, okay. It dropped a little bit. Not sure why that dropped, but yeah, there you go. It's a bit interesting. Yeah, let's increase that. The state will buy first. Okay. So at the moment we're running at 64% debt to GDP ratio. This is definitely not a good thing, but I'm confident that we will be able to resolve that. Well, the good thing is that we can increase military spending without being hugely detrimental. But the problem is we are out of stability, and every time we increase military spending, it will decrease stability. So what's holding us back right now? Population tax, but the government popularity as well. Now we will have another problem now because the monarchy is actually losing support. So we need to counteract that by, what, possibly further increasing... Oh, need artillery. Okay, we are getting there. 40% tax rate is probably the maximum I want to go at. Anything more than that, and you are sort of asking for trouble. And that's going back up, which is good. Office sectors only are about 9.4 billion in the corporate tax. But I suppose that is pretty good. Let's keep our money at the moment. We're at 69% of our debt to GDP ratio. It is going to be hanging on by a thread. Putin is still in Russia. James Soong of the People's First Party is in Taiwan. Very nice. Let's see what trade agreements, which I don't want to waste away. Okay. What's that? April, June, July. So just on schedule. By mid-2008, we were going to be down to 25 billion in deficit. Now we've got 71.4% in debt to GDP. And I'm hoping that more of these office sectors are going to increase our corporate tax to the point that we will actually start to pay some of this debt back. Alright, we definitely need better main battle tanks, but let's start off with, we'll go APCs. Okay. Okay. Let's have a look. We don't have any IMF any IMF events popping up. So we're not too bad just yet at our debt to GDP ratio. And I'm hoping that we can get back in the black. Our population is definitely growing at an insane rate. Let's get more of these office sectors going. We'll just continue producing more and more office sectors. I do believe the office sectors give us more income. I could be wrong though. Don't really know for sure. Let's start increasing on that. So emerging isn't increasing, Western outlook isn't increasing, everything's a stalemate at the moment, which is fine. We may look at doing nationalist propaganda at some point, but that will further increase our GDP cost. We keep consolidating more and more debt. Oh. I've missed that research. That's okay. We'll stick with this for now, because we are certainly going to need it. We may have to increase our police state. Political power cost plus 30. The biggest chunk is probably just in the welfare, naturally. Yeah. You know what? It's possibly at 70, we're nearly at 80% debt to GDP. We're not quite at an economic boom just yet, and we are running into dangerous territory. So perhaps I may have to sacrifice a bit more of the political gain, but therefore bring the economy back into the black. I believe it's worth the risk. And we need to increase our intelligence apparatus. There's definitely a fine thread to play with India. Something tells me that as we're getting more and more factories, we're getting more and more use for exports. "51 factories are needed to fund the government budget, leaving us with 44 available for trade." Okay. Let's try and... So we can establish military bases in a few different areas. We can have non-aggression pacts. Iran, I believe, will be useful to have a non-aggression pact. Non-aggression pact with Russia. We definitely cannot reduce taxes right now. It's going to cost us political power by doing that. Okay, let's cut tax on corporations because at least they're happy. And we'll gradually decrease further and further. It's good that we have gotten started on our military production. Right, sorry, military research, I should say. Okay, now that we're doing half decent on our debt consolidation, let's stop this, see where we're at. And that's fine. We're good with that. Now we can use that extra political power to start increasing our research speeds. We're getting these companies. One thing that is going to be very important is increasing our stability, because it is very bad at the moment. Let's just armored personnel carriers or infantry fighting vehicles. I would say we're going to be quite... or requires more resources. Ah, you know what? Let's go APCs. There it is. Boom. That's good. Now... yes. More attack choppers. Because at some point we will focus all of our production on military factories. Let's upgrade helicopter. Now the reason why I've spent so much time doing the increases on this section, actually this section, sorry, is the production efficiency retention. So every time I upgrade to a new unit, I retain the majority of my efficiency, and it gets back up much quicker. We need to bring that corruption down as quickly as possible as well. Okay, we're looking pretty good now. We'll just keep chewing away at that debt. We'll quickly pump out some more of these internal factions and all the corruption and all that sort of stuff. We'll get that out of the way, and then we'll start researching the military focuses. here I am thinking that I was going to catch up to China's civilian factory production, but I have had to prioritize office sectors, which actually hasn't been increasing my corporate income whatsoever. But I'm hoping the transition, it may have something to do with the type of economy that we're going. Consumer economy describes an economy driven by consumer spending as a percentage of its gross domestic product, as opposed to other major components of GDP. Mixed economy is much like semi-consumption economies. They are even less reliant on consumer spending as a whole to make up their GDP. Export economy, commodity exporters including countries with large deposits of natural resources, intermediate production countries, or countries with large swaths of farmland. These countries export a large portion of raw and blah blah blah. Closed economy. Closed economy is shut from the world, little to no trade with the outside world, if all possible. The country purely relies on itself as much as it can. Da da da. Okay. Cross that bridge when we get there. We do want the Hindustan Aeronautics company there as well. Now that we've completed that part. Down to 64.6% GDP, which is looking nice. At this rate, we've got 18 billion. Let's round it up to 20 because it will start going up further as I continue on, but let's round it to 20 billion in the positive per week. So after 10 weeks, we're going to be looking at 200 billion. After 50 weeks, or roughly a year, we're looking at 100 billion. Oh, sorry, a trillion. What am I talking about? Dun, 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 bam, bam, bam. So at this rate, it might take us 2.5 years to get rid of all this debt, which, you know, is fine. So I did say 2010 to 2012. So leading up to 2012, we should have a good civilian factory, good amount of civilian factories. We should have pretty advanced research. We should have more production going into military factories, hopefully. Yeah, so we've still maintained the majority, but the Nationalist Congress Party is getting fairly close up there. We will increase our intelligence apparatus again. We do want to move on to an economic boom as soon as we can. That would be ideal. We'll increase our civil service. So we can get more political power. But, and in saying that, that will also increase our cost, which might not be the best idea actually. Just not right now. When we do eventually declare war, we will probably have a severe deficit, and so we'll need to take that into account. Our defense is only 2 billion at the moment, so we may have to reduce welfare in order to compensate for that. But ideally, Ideally we can weather, hopefully we can weather a bit more than that. It's amazing that we're only on volunteer service, but our manpower is 7.4 million, which is insane. Okay, I definitely think we need to get corruption down as quickly as possible as well. Because by reducing corruption, we're reducing the loss of tax revenue. We've got more defense against foreign influence. We're not losing as much on research speed and factory output. Yeah, just a lot of good things. Okay, we won't initiate anyone into military roles until I reckon it's probably more worthwhile to get as much political power. While we've got 2.5 per day, that's going to be very important. 100 days, we're looking at 250 political power, so we've only got a few years left. So we're going to need to improve our corruption rating as quickly as possible before we get to war. Things are coming along nicely. I'm not going to worry about anything naval right now. I don't see naval as an issue that I'll have to deal with, you know, until possibly like 2025, 2030 even. If we can destroy China and take their naval bases and their navy, then it's not something we're going to have to be too concerned about anyway. Although, how large is the American Navy? It's quite large. NATO combined has quite a large navy. We could do the historic route though. Russia, China, India and the BRICS nations could all join forces in a greater war against Europe. That could possibly be a scenario, but China's kind of our greatest enemy, so it'd be nice to destroy China. Whether that's possible, I don't know. It's a good question. I have no idea. Look at the amount of air power they have. I wonder if we can goad Russia into attacking China in some form. I don't know if that's going to be possible. It'd be nice though. I can dream, right? Okay, corruption is... yeah, look, let's do a lump sum. I don't know, I'm in pretty good terms with the farmers at the moment. Let's do that. How much time we got? 55 minutes on the dot. So you'll probably see a lot more of this happening in the next episode, where we just continue to produce more and more. I reckon what I'll do is I'll start producing military industry. So I've got almost 4 full production queues going on here. So we need artillery, main battle tanks, ideally 5th generation fighters, all the modern equipment, attack helicopters, etc, etc. And we can now decrease our corruption, which, let's have a look, 24 billion. 24, well, it's 24.5, that's 20.4.2 actually, so I don't know if that's helped. Maybe it will in the long run. Ideally, we want the corruption as low as possible anyway, so surely that would settle things a bit better. Oh, that just increases construction of forts, so I'm not missing out on much by going neutral, declaring neutrality. It'd be a little boring because then I couldn't actually go on many offensives, if anything at all, if any at all, really. 3rd generation, multi-role, and interceptor. So the interceptor is the one that I'm improving on. Cool, so we're up to date with our attack helicopters. 5 days left on... Excellent, excellent. 1995. So we need 4.5... 4.5th? 4.5 generation fighter. Let's get the APC going. Attack helicopter. Boom. I suppose we can start producing our 4th generation air superiority fighters. These things are going to be very useful. So we've got plenty of production for many of these units. We've got plenty of APC, so I'll drop down production of that. We've got plenty of anti-air tanks, and I do believe it's important to start getting our Air Force. Okay, yeah, it's painful, but the housing prices do have to come down. Now we're at 4 billion, wonderful. Let's drop that down, now we're at 5 billion, excellent. So it's always good to prepare ahead for these sorts of situations. We've got stagnation, so we're not even at fast growth. That's a massive drop there. So we're gonna suffer quite a bit from that. Yeah. Okay. That might be it for this episode. Long story short, we have the budget under control. We are still producing quite a lot of civilian factories. We're still playing catch up with China, so they're going to be a big issue, but I'm hoping that when China is preoccupied with other projects, that might be a good time to strike. But our primary goal should be to acquire Pakistan, which, even though they've got a lot of divisions and a lot of manpower, we will always win the war on attrition against Pakistan. Bangladesh, same sort of situation. We should absorb them quite nicely. Even if we make big pushes on this sector here, because that looks like it is simply just plains. That one is marsh, that's no good. And that's marsh. So at least push to this in this direction. Or we can attack them on all fronts, or divert a lot of their forces. If we build up a heavy presence in this section here and make sure we've maintained the good channel there, we'll bring more of their forces to the eastern side, and then hopefully we can punch through this part here and then claim those two there, and then hopefully corner that one there. So we can push up a little bit there, push up from here. So that is a mountain range. Then we've got plains there, plains there, plains there, and plains there. So these 4 tiles here will be fairly straightforward to take. And then what do we've got here? Plains, jungle, forest, sorry. More plains, so at least we can do a pincer movement here and push into the urban area here. And hopefully that should be enough to grab enough of the... shit, what are they called? Victory points. Grab enough of their victory points that they'll hopefully capitulate. Ah, Turkey declared war on Syria. Interesting. Turkey is still in NATO. We should... What production do they have? Do they have anything that's better than ours? No, they're doing pretty good in production. Yeah, so that's the main plan. That's the sort of the goal here. Actually, I'll wait enough to get medium corruption. $58, 109, 34. We're getting up there. So it's a slow and arduous process. But if we can acquire Bangladesh, which is pretty much 15 to 20 civilian factories, and if we get Pakistan, then that's another 10, 15 there. So we should get another 30 from acquiring both of those territories. I don't know if we will try to take Afghanistan or anything like that. Okay, I did say we would try and get more. Let's do that one first. We'll get some military production in Telangana. So it's away from the shores, so it is less likely to fall under enemy hands in the event of a naval invasion. We're running short. There's a caliphate of Indonesia. Okay. Let's use Australia to get some technology materials, because we're definitely going to need that for our Air Force production. Okay, we've got enough to reduce our corruption level. Boom. Ah! Boom! Look at that, 16 billion. And that's from reducing the corruption. So that was a massive jump. That was a very, very, very big jump. That's good. That's what we want. Get some better drones. Actually, is there something else that... State will buy it first. That's okay. Not going to worry too much about the Navy. 2015. Oh, let's get our network. Get that all set up. Okay. All right. I reckon we'll keep. We'll stop focusing. Well, we'll keep this status quo going at the moment with the focus trees until we've reduced our corruption, and then we'll start doing the military focus trees, and then rapidly developing that as quickly as we can in preparation for a war in about a year and a half, possibly 2013. We'll see how we're traveling, but ideally, if we can tackle these sooner rather than later, that would be the goal. Well, that's good. I can start justifying war goals for the greater good of the Indian monarchy, which, by the way, we've got 29% approval rating, which is no good. So we're going to have to continue to improve that. So I'm hoping we can improve that. If we continue reducing the corruption level, Yeah, so that's nice. This would help. And then if we increase... Yeah, see, tax revenue plus 10%. So that would be incredibly beneficial if we can get that back. Once we've got a police state, we should have much better stability. It's just all these things that we kind of need. I wonder if... I mean, stability is going to be a heavy factor on our political power. Shit. Let's reduce taxes on corporations. We need to stimulate business more than anything, really. How far has that dropped us? It's not too bad, I guess. So we've got another like 60 civilian factories being developed. I reckon we should be developing better infrastructure to connect these. Connect to these regions. Okay, start off with that. And therefore, perhaps even better network infrastructure as well. Get rid of that. Okay. Can't stop. This is good. I'm enjoying it. This is very fun. Nationalist Party in the Philippines. Ooh, our debt to GDP is down to 36%. That's great. Is there anything else I wanted to do before I forget? We need to definitely develop more planes, because China's coming up to 4,000 planes. I don't know if they're all going to be not the best quality plane, but let's see what they got. Can we... Do they have any sort of modern fighters? 4th gen, 4th gen, 4th gen. Okay, so they do have 4th gen fighters. What sort of tanks do they have? So the IFV is 1995. The APC is 1995. It's not too bad. Okay. I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna have superior weaponry to China though. Which is, I mean, that's what I wanted, but... Yeah, I'm a little surprised. What is this? Is this like the automobile party or something? Conservative first report spectrum of moderate right-wing, blah, 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 blah. Oh, piss off. Who's trying to meddle in our affairs? I don't know, but we got a lot of good national spirits, at least. Okay, let's call it an episode. I think that sounds like a plan. Very good. Thanks for joining. We'll see you in the next episode. Appreciate you supporting. And yeah, next one would be really good. We'll get, hopefully... Next one will pretty much... We'll make sure we'll have everything ready for war coming in 2012. Because I do want to absorb Pakistan and Bangladesh. So then I've got another edge, hopefully, at least to match China. Because I've got 113 civs there. They've got possibly 149. So even if it's on the low end, which I don't think it will be, it'll probably be somewhere in, you know, 180 or 190 factories. But at least that can bump us up by, you know, another, let's say another 30 factories. Which brings us to about, you know, 140, 150. So that would be good. Plus all these ones that we're producing, I'm hoping we can start expanding, or at least getting on par with China. It might be worthwhile creating fortifications in this region, so then China can take that, that's fine, and then I've got a river to block in between, and then we will get the mountain ranges here. Actually, possibly even take these ones here. Let's see if we can get the Chinese to push in to this region here, where it's just plains upon plains. We'll guard this one. We'll put fortifications all across here. Get the Chinese to push in to here, and then hopefully we can create a stronghold. So move from plains onto here, and then try and cut them off, and then get a whole chunk of their military there. Something like that. This is going to be very fun, but by then we should have Bangladesh. Maybe we'll have Bhutan. Even if we just take them into our fold. We've got a large amount of control on Bhutan, so it should be fun. Okay, well, again, thank you for watching. Until next time.